Welcome, jesters. Let's talk about the filibuster, which is not actually a filibuster. Whatever what he's talking about, the 60-vote rule in the Senate is just to invoke cloture, which is to close off debate. Otherwise, senators can technically just ramble on forever, thus, delaying any further senatorial action. This rule was only only created back in 1917, probably because politicians are lazy and they didn't want to have to actually stand there and do a filibuster themselves. They just wanted to go back to their house and sip whiskey and not get anything done. Typical politicians. It was updated once in 1975 to reduce the threshold from 67 to 60. That's 2/3 to 3/5, but it doesn't really matter. It's time for it to go. I agree with the president on this. The filibuster has probably created more problems than it has solved. Or rather, it has allowed more problems to stay in law than it has prevented from becoming law, right? And one of the biggest things that we are facing right now is Obamacare. Obamacare should have been repealed almost immediately after it was passed. Once people started to experience it, realized it wasn't what they were sold. It is not working. It has not made healthcare more affordable. Of course not. It should be repealed. But, because of the slow, ponderous nature of the Senate, they're somehow proud of this. It's not. We're stuck with it. We've been stuck with it for, only 10 years, but it's a disaster. And it is time for that to change. Also, I think the filibuster is one of the reasons why we are so polarized right now. Everybody is taking more and more extreme positions, mostly because nothing ever changes. Everybody continues to be unhappy. Everybody is unhappy with the status quo on both sides, but because nothing ever changes, everyone just stays unhappy and angry with the status quo, so we get more and more radicalized, demanding more and more extreme fixes to problems that the government created. Yes, the filibuster has only allowed government-created problems to basically last forever. It is time for that to change. Yes, the will of the people, the ability of Congress to enact the will of the people must be restored. Again, the filibuster is not in the Constitution. This was not something crafted by the founders. If the founders wanted a 60-vote majority for Senate action, they would have put that in the Constitution like they did other supermajorities. This question has already been settled. They did not include a provision for a supermajority, so there is no requirement for a supermajority. And yes, I know everyone is scared about what happens. What if the Democrats take power and they remove the filibuster? They will. They absolutely will. At this point, there's nothing stopping them. They've already gotten rid of Kyrsten Sinema. They are setting up to get rid of John Fetterman, right? Probably the two last reasonable voices in the Democrat Party. So we have the opportunity now, and we have to take it. We have to fix all of these government-created problems once and for all with fast, decisive action, right? Now, if anybody's worried, so when the Democrats take power, just remember, like Obamacare, there are no successful leftist policies. None in history, social or economic. They just don't work. People have to experience this. And like I'm saying with Mamdani, if that happens, yes, they're going to get what they want, things will get really bad, and the pendulum will swing the other way. And I do realize that it is possible that the first few revolutions, the federal policy, federal law, could swing wildly, right? Imagine if Democrats passed Obamacare, and then a mere 4 years later, it was completely revealed. And people would be screaming, chaos, people want predictability. Well, unfortunately, people have to learn a lesson for things to get predictable. And if control of Washington does swing back and forth, and there are huge swings in federal policy, okay, people will start to learn their lesson, and there will be an eventual equilibrium. The politicians will start passing laws that they know people will like, and they won't have to repeal at some point in the very near future. And again, don't worry, none of those will be leftist, because people will realize very, very quickly that they don't work. And people will demand very, very quickly that they be repealed. So now is the time. We have to get rid of the filibuster while we have the chance, and while we have a president who is on board and who is willing to sign whatever legislation they pass through. Well, not whatever legislation, but what legislation on his agenda that they pass. We have to do it. And in terms of letting the Democrats take power, the reason they're not going to want this, the reason they're going to object now is simply because they know that if the appropriate legislation is passed, they might not ever take power again. This is not a leftist country. The general population is not leftist, right? And they know that if we do some very simple and popular things, they're going to be out of power for a very long time. So, as soon as the filibuster is lifted, we have to be ready. Voter ID. Mandatory voter ID for federal elections. Yeah, the states can do what they want, but for federal offices, mandatory voter ID. Mandatory citizenship verification. We denaturalize all of the anchor babies. All of them. We build the wall. We enact the tariffs. We finally deal with the income tax. Maybe get rid of the income tax. All of these things. We don't have time for the big, beautiful bill to fully take effect. It's over 4 years. Granted, that's going to be great for JD or Ron when they run, but we need action now. Midterms aren't really guaranteed, still hopeful, but we need to take action now that we have control. Democrats keep saying, you control all three branches of government. Okay, you're right, we do. Let's use it. We have an opportunity that we have not had in a very long time to unwind decades of leftism that has crept into our nation and our government. We have to get rid of all of it because, as I keep saying, leftism is not just a threat to the United States, it is a threat to civilization. And you know I'm right.